Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning blog. My name is Melisa Galasso, and today we're going to talk about a proposed SSAE, which is amendments to SSAE 18 to 19, as well as 21. On February 26 of 2026, the ASB issued a separate SSAE proposal around common concepts, examination engagements, review engagements, and engagements to report on sustainability information, which we're going to refer to today as the 2026 February exposure draft. In that, it proposed some changes, which we talked about in a previous blog, to address sustainability within the codification. Currently, there's a separate A&A guide for sustainability reporting, and that information is going to now be incorporated into the actual standards. As a result, they issued a secondary proposal, which we're going to talk about today. This was issued in March of 2026, and the goal here is to make conforming amendments. So this proposed SSAE is really trying to make amendments only to conform to the various sections that are needed. And so basically for consistency purposes, for the most part, to make things accurate between various sections. Typically when they make proposals, they do not provide the entire language. They just provide the changes. But in order for us to understand the context, they have a significant amount that are going to be grayed out and unchanged, and only the strike-throughs and bolds are going to be included. So the goal of this is not to make significant changes. They really are conforming amendments. So let's take a look at a few examples. So as you can see here, instead of possible under law or regulation, to make it consistent with other guidance, we're going to use the word practicable. In terms of the contents of the report, instead of as required by, based on. So again, very, very small, very, very minor wording changes that are going to help with consistency. Here's another example. Instead of the language here, it's going to be the relevant ethical requirements relating to the practitioner's examination instead of related to the examination engagement. So language changes here. You can see a title that includes the word independent. That's consistent with other standards there as well, based on the circumstances instead of as required by. So hopefully you're starting to see a little bit of a theme here. We conducted our examination in accordance with the attestation standards instead of our examination was conducted, more in line with what we see in the audit standards as well. So they're not making fundamental changes here. They really are trying to just make conforming amendments for consistency purposes across the entire SSAE section. One thing that they did not change was AT section 701. It has never been made a C, and that because this is related to MD&A required by the US SEC. And historically, they have decided not to clarify it and to leave it in the unclarified format. And this, again, is going to be very consistent that they're not going to make changes to here. Instead, they're going to leave it in the unclarified format simply because they rarely perform these and it's not worth the effort to try. So if you do get engaged, which would be incredibly rare, you can use the unclarified version, but they're not going to take the time to actually go through the clarification process. So in terms of the proposed effective dates, this would be for engagements beginning on or after June 15th of 2029, which is the same proposed effective date as the February 2026 exposure draft. Early implementation would be permitted, but also if you did the other sections, so you would have to implement all together as part of this. Comments are due June 30th of 2026. You can do them separately or with the previous standard sustainability proposal that we covered in a previous blog. All right, so that's short and sweet and to the point. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope to see you on a future vlog. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.